and they take the minimum wage to reflect, to think about the market wage.
Yes.
So there is a, so this market, this labor market isn't functioning well.
Yeah.
There's a problem with the labor
That's why
market.
there needs to be increased minimum wage.
But how, the supply curve is assumed to be complete information. At $8, the quantity supplied in your diagram is what? Could you label Q sub S? Okay.
This is how much people.
So let's say that's 80 people. Put an 80 there. At Q star, put 100. Now, what's the quantity demanded? Okay, QD. Let's say that's 120. So what's your unemployment, absolute unemployment number? It's 40, right? No, not 20. It's 40. You sure? Yeah.
What?
You sure?
No, because it's demanded. That's what it.
So it's just 20.
Yes. People are looking for very low price.
I think it is a little misinterpretation. This is the price, the wage rate is the price floor. You can't pay less than that. That's interpret that way. I think you're misinterpreting the idea behind minimum wage. For example, let's say you are an employer. You are paying $10 to your employees. And government comes in and tells you you cannot pay less than $8. You're not paying less than $8. You're paying 10, right?
So it's irrelevant.
So it's irrelevant, yeah. The way you have.
Here's an example.
Only when, let's say, you are paying $10 right now, and then government comes in, steps in and tells you, you cannot pay less than 12. Then in that case, you have to pay 12. Does that make sense? When you have to pay higher than what you're paying today, you will employ, you will hire less people, or you will lay off some of your employees. And in that case, there will be unemployment in that case, but not in this case. But like Nisa said, if the market is not imperfect, the employer does not know what is the market wage rate,
Yes.
and they take the minimum wage lower than the market wage as an indicator of the market rate, then there could be a problem. Yeah, possible. But let's say they don't know what is the going market wage rate employer. Some kind of market imperfection possible, but we're not thinking of
So
that
they might
situation.
actually think that the
That $8 is
$8
yeah,
is
yeah,
actually
yeah.
a price floor.
Yeah, maybe they might think that way, right? Imperfection.
Yeah.
But here we are thinking of only a perfect information situation. So in that case, it's not like this. It doesn't work. Yeah.
So let's
You
hear
perfectly understood my point. Thank you.
let's hear the summary of your argument on why minimum wages can be helpful. Give us your best shot on why minimum wage.
Fights inequality as preemptive attack on rising inequality.
Fights
Preemptive attack on
inequality.
rising inequality.
Inequality.
Yes, rising inequality.
Okay.
Preemptive.
Minimum wages do what?
It will be a tool to fight inequality.
Fight.
Preemptive attack.
Counter, yeah.
Inequality because you're paying poor people more money.
Yes. Otherwise, it will be too much inequality. Poor people will turn to the left. Left government, very socialist government, communism will come up, Hitler will come up, Stalin will come up, Lenin, and they will charge extremely high taxes, or even worse. Therefore, there must
What
be.
is the cost of getting rid of that inequality? If you jack up minimum wages, is it free? Or is someone in the economy
The
going to
government
pay for
won't pay
it?
directly.
No, it's going to be the people who buy those products, isn't it?
Well, but it will be very long term, and it won't affect state weight.
Because
There will
if
be
you
no
jack up
inflation,
minimum
yes.
wages, that means that costs rise, prices rise, and the consumer pays.
But inflation will rise too.
So now we have to pay $5 for a coffee.
But-
So I'm paying for inequality. Why not deal with inequality through the tax?
So, there's some money.
Okay, let's hear your argument. Did I steal your argument?
Yes. So our rebuttal for that is that if we have the government setting a minimum wage, they don't know what the market value is because they don't have this graph of the current market. So if they set it lower than what everyone else is getting paid, then what is the point? Everyone's getting paid higher than minimum wage anyways, which is what your graph is suggesting. But if it's above the market price value, then people people will have less of an incentive to hire, the employers will have less incentive to hire, because there would be an excess supply of labor. This will be due to the fact that the market value is lower. People are willing to work for less than what the government is demanding they be hired for. Does that make sense? And
See, the problem with this diagram is it's an average for all wages, right? Let's say we talked about the demand and supply for McDonald's, like entry-level jobs at McDonald's, right? It may be that your minimum wage is above the equilibrium, above wage star, W star, right? And then you will get excess supply, which means that high school kids won't get a job.
And to add on to that point, while people have to, or the employers have to pay more for their employees, they're less inclined to hire more people, because though people are currently hired are worth more, but they're still having the same output. Yeah, so the youth are more inexperienced, they don't get hired because employees think, oh, I have to pay this certain amount for an employee. This student doesn't know anything, they've not had any experience in the market, I'm not going to hire them. Therefore, there's going to be more unemployment of people who are less experienced, who are younger.
So why is the government jacking up the minimum wage? Is it just completely political to buy votes?
Because
It's a
the government,
non-economic issue?
yes, so politically the government can say, the people are currently employed at minimum wage, we're going to increase your income, you're going to have more purchasing power, but from this, people who are unemployed will stay unemployed.
Right, and the people who are employed could run the greater risk of being fired, right?
Because they're not worth what they're getting paid anymore, so they'll get fired because the workers will want to hire more experienced people who are actually worth the new higher minimum.
Have you seen any data on what is the actual effect of raising the minimum wage in BC
Not in BC.
or anywhere?
Yeah, it would be in our.
Okay, can you tell me what it says?
Give us a moment.
I guess your argument in simple terms is you jack up the minimum wage, unemployment should rise, right?
Yes.
And can you prove that?
We don't have a proof here.
I think one benefit study shows 10% increase in minimum wage causes 1 to 3% increase in unemployment among the least skilled, not overall, but the least
In the
skilled.
make jobs?
Calculated in
A
study.
10% increase in minimum wage causes, let's
One
say,
to
2. So let's say a
2.
2% increase in unemployment.
Not the overall unemployment, but among the least skilled.
But among the entry level. That's a pretty damning evidence, isn't it?
Of course, when it did,
So how do you counter that?
well, of course, there will be some effect on the unemployment. We all acknowledge that fact. But the problem is that overall benefit of the rising minimum wage, how many people will get benefit from that? A lot of people will get benefit from that. And of course, some teenagers won't benefit from that. And overall, actually, in California, in 1988, in 1992, 25% hike in the minimum wage caused almost no unemployment except for the minorities, teenagers.
So your argument is
Overall,
the benefit
is better than
outweighs the cost of the cost. A few people, an increase of wages of 10% will cause 2% unemployment, that's the cost. But the benefit is that, how would you measure that? That the 10% increase in wages increases the incomes, therefore consumption and economic growth
traditional.
to the people who are still working, as opposed to the 2% who are now unemployed.
Did you get the question?
There was no question, it was just.
Yeah.
Maybe the question is, how do you measure the benefits due to increased wage rate?
It's easy to make people get
High
wages.
wage income?
Of course, we'll get more money to spend. It would be better for the economy. And you're seeing that the businesses will straight away lay off people. But it's not true. they will have more money, knowing that these people get more money, we will assume that, all right, they have more money and we will have more demand from our youth. So why would they cut off employment?
So you're saying the demand for labor is inelastic? You raise the price by 10%, the quantity drops by 2%. Inelastic. Okay.
And just to counter your point, you said that giving an extra dollar to somebody who's already employed rents more utility than giving this dollar to somebody who is unemployed, which actually, which doesn't really fit into the law of diminished marginal utility, which is one of the basic laws of the economy. So unless you have any factual data to back this up, I think you can make such an assumption.
Edison, you look like you want to tell us something.
Right, so you're saying that by raising the minimum wage, then unemployment drops for entry-level jobs. That is true, but overall on the entire unemployment rate, the drop is very small. And by increasing the minimum wage, actually it encourages entry-level jobs or entry-level workers to undergo more training and education to be able to maintain or achieve a better job, knowing that they'll get a higher rate.
I don't understand that argument. If I'm working at McDonald's and I now get $10 instead of $8, you're saying that's encouraging me to go become an engineer?
I'm saying that since a minimum wage job, you're probably not going to have much training. You're probably doing a very easy task. By increasing minimum wage, that job itself will have someone who's in a better position to take it, who has undergone more training or education.
But how can you have more training if you're not going to hire you?
By undergoing the training and education, you're assuming that you're able to get a job.
But you're assuming that the government allows you to undergo the training.
Well, it's more like an investment. You're investing into education in order to make people obtain a better job.
To get into a minimum wage job.
Okay, so another argument I have against that
Maybe
is-
possibly what he's saying is because you are getting paid higher than what you deserve, let's say, and there is chances of getting fired because employers will employ less. In that case, you have a higher incentive to work harder. Are you saying that? Maybe, possibly, some kind of, okay, some people might lose job, I have to
He didn't
keep
say
my
that.
job.
He didn't say that,
You didn't say that?
no.
I need to keep my job, so I will work hard.
That many studies show that, but he didn't say that. Can I hear more arguments for minimum wage? One is reduction in inequality by increasing the wages of people who are employed at the cost of unemployment. What else? Is that the only argument you guys have? Or take your time.
Hurry up.
So, one argument that raising the minimum wage is not beneficial is that it would cause inflation across the board in all goods. But then it's usually the foods and the clothing, that kind of products that are affected most by minimum wage, but the housing and transportation and etc. These costs are less affected by minimum wage, and a raise in the minimum wage would only affect the food and clothing, which doesn't take a big portion of our expenditure. So having increased purchasing power and having to pay a little more for food and clothing, but actually being more able to pay for the housing and transportation costs would be beneficial for laborers.
Also, who are the beneficiaries from minimum wage? So, according to what you guys have said, the people who lose out, the unemployed people, the unemployment is really, as a result of minimum wage, unemployment is really among the teenage. Right? That's the age population, the ones that are really working there and studying at the same time. Who are the beneficiaries who end up staying in the labor force and are benefiting from minimum wage?
Our research shows that usually people above the age of 25 are less affected by any raise in minimum wage, and that everybody under the 50 lowest 50th percentile income would have an increase in their wage as a result of a raise in the minimum wage.
Any other demographics that you might have? Do you know whether it's mostly women or men that are, any of the studies mention anything about that? About gender or about what the families might be like?
Alrighty, we'll give you the last word. I haven't heard from, John. Okay, what we're looking for here is a next neat little summary on why minimum wage is basically a waste of time. Raising the minimum wage is a waste of time. Not worth the effort. It's just a political smokescreen.